The cameras were rolling, the lights were burning, and everyone thought it was just another day in Hollywood until the scene became real. Behind some of the most unforgettable movies were accidents so shocking they changed lives forever. Before you watch, ask yourself, how far is too far for the perfect shot? Kevin Costner. The ocean was never just a backdrop in Waterworld. It was the villain, the battlefield, and the one force on set no director could command. Kevin Costner had poured everything into the film, chasing a massive vision of a drowned future where humanity survived on rust, salt, and desperation. But out on the open water, even a superstar could become small very quickly. For one intense sequence, Costner's character was tied to the mast of his trimaran as the sea rose around him. On screen, it was meant to look dangerous. In real life, it became dangerous. A sudden storm rolled in, the wind turned violent, and the boat began fighting the water like a trapped animal. Costner was still bound to the mast, unable to simply step away when nature took over the scene. The crew could only watch the situation turn from cinematic to terrifying. Waves slammed the boat, the mast whipped in the storm. Every second stretched longer as the man at the center of one of Hollywood's most expensive productions was left exposed to the ocean's raw power. There were no heroic speeches, no perfect movie timing, just a desperate race to get him down before the sea wrote its own ending. Costner survived, but Waterworld carried that danger in its bones. Every wide shot of endless water feels bigger when you know the ocean was not pretending. It delayed the film, punished the crew, and nearly swallowed its leading man. Hollywood built a world where the planet belonged to the sea, and for a few frightening moments, the sea reminded everyone that it did not need a script to be powerful. Gianni Russo. Few movie beatings feel as raw as the moment Sonny Corleone explodes into the street in The Godfather. The scene was meant to show rage, family honor, and mafia justice all crashing together in broad daylight. Gianni Russo, playing Carlo Rizzi, stood at the center of it. The man the audience was supposed to hate, and the man who was about to feel Sonny's fury up close. James Caan came at him with the kind of force that made the camera shake with life. Trash cans flew, bodies slammed into fences. The scene had choreography, but it carried something wilder underneath. A dangerous energy that made viewers believe the violence was not just acted, but released. Russo later said the punishment was far more real than anyone watching the finished film could have known. For Russo, it was not just another day on a legendary movie set. He was new, surrounded by giants, and trying to survive inside one of the most intimidating productions in Hollywood history. According to his own account, the scene left him injured, but he kept quiet, knowing that one wrong complaint could cost him the role, the movie, and maybe his future in the business. That is why the scene still hits differently. It is not only Sonny beating Carlo, it is a young actor being swallowed by a masterpiece as it is being made. The Godfather became cinema history. But for Gianni Russo, one unforgettable scene came with pain behind the performance. Sometimes the most iconic moments on screen are remembered for their power, while the person inside them remembers the impact. Dar Robinson. Dar Robinson did not treat gravity like an enemy. He treated it like a partner. In Hollywood, his name carried the weight of legend, the stuntman who could fall from impossible heights, break records, and walk away with a calm smile as if he had simply stepped off a curb. To directors, he was precision. To other stunt performers, he was almost untouchable. On the set of $1 Million Mystery in 1986, Robinson had already done what he did best. A dangerous motorcycle stunt had been completed. The kind of moment that would make audiences lean forward without ever knowing the math, nerves, and trust behind it. The hardest part seemed finished. The danger, at least for that day, should have been behind him. But Hollywood's cruelest moments often arrive after everyone starts breathing again. During a later motorcycle chase shot in the Arizona desert, Robinson lost control near a curve and went off the road. There was no grand buildup, no final speech, no heroic music swelling underneath the moment. Just speed, dust, and one terrible break in the rhythm of a man who had spent his life mastering risk. Dar Robinson's death felt almost impossible because he was never the reckless kind of daredevil people imagined. He planned. He calculated. He respected danger. That is why his final accident still cuts so deeply. The man who survived the sky was taken in a routine shot on the ground. His legacy remains in every stunt performer who studies the line between courage and control, and in every frame that reminds us the safest-looking moment can still carry the heaviest price. A.J. Bakunas. A.J. Bakunas belonged to a rare breed of Hollywood daredevils who did not just perform danger. They made danger look almost beautiful. He was young, fearless, and obsessed with the kind of stunt that left a crowd staring upward, holding its breath, on the set of Steel. He was doubling for George Kennedy, and the job demanded a fall so bold it could turn a simple movie scene into legend. The first jump had already worked. Bakunas had fallen from a lower level and given the film what it needed. For most people, that would have been enough. But stuntmen like A.J. lived in the space between enough and impossible. After another daredevil broke his record, Bakunas wanted the sky back. So he returned to the tower in Lexington, Kentucky, ready to fall from hundreds of feet above the ground. Below him, the airbag waited like a promise around him. People watched with excitement, fear, and disbelief. Then he jumped for a few seconds. He was not just a man falling. He was a body cutting through open air, chasing history in front of everyone. But when he hit the landing pad, the safety system failed. The applause never came. The record attempt turned into a race against time. A.J. Bakunas died the next day, and the silence he left behind was heavier than any stunt he had ever performed. His story is not just about ambition. It is about the invisible trust every stunt performer places in equipment, timing, and the people below. The audience sees the fall. Hollywood remembers the risk. But somewhere between the tower and the ground, A.J. Bakunas gave everything for a shot most viewers would never truly understand. Eric Fleming. Deep in the Peruvian jungle, far from the clean streets of Hollywood and the controlled dust of a Western set, Eric Fleming stepped into a world that did not care about cameras. To millions of viewers, he was Gil Favor from Rawhide, steady, commanding, the kind of man who looked as if he could lead anyone through danger, but in high jungle. The danger was no longer painted on a backdrop. It was alive, moving, and waiting in the river. The scene placed Fleming and co-star Nico Minardos in a dugout canoe on the Hualaga River. Around them was raw wilderness, thick jungle, rushing water, and the uneasy feeling that nature was allowing the film crew only a temporary visit. The camera wanted adventure. The production wanted realism. The river offered something much colder. A reminder that some locations do not perform for Hollywood. When the canoe overturned, the moment became a fight against current, panic, and time. Minardo's managed to reach safety, but Fleming was swept away by the powerful water. The man who had spent years playing strength on television disappeared into a force no script could slow down. For 3 days, the search continued through the jungle's silence until the river finally gave back what it had taken. Eric Fleming's death feels especially cruel because it came while he was trying to move beyond the role that made him famous. He was only 41, still chasing new chapters, still proving there was more to him than one iconic cowboy. Instead, his final scene was written by the wild itself. No studio could reshoot it. No editor could soften it. The jungle kept its silence, and Hollywood lost a man who had made toughness look effortless. Kristin Chenoweth. A normal shooting day can be the most dangerous kind, because no one walks onto set expecting life to change between one camera setup and the next. Kristin Chenoweth arrived on The Good Wife as one of Broadway's brightest forces. Tiny in frame, enormous in presence, with a voice that could fill a theater and a smile that made everything around her feel lighter. The scene was not supposed to be extreme. No collapsing buildings, no violent chase, no risky stunt built for headlines. It was just an outdoor shoot in Brooklyn, the kind of day actors and crew members move through almost automatically. Then the wind shifted. A heavy piece of lighting equipment came down, and in one violent instant, the safe rhythm of television production turned into panic. Chenoweth was rushed to the hospital, and the role that was meant to introduce her into a longer arc on the series was suddenly gone. The injuries followed her long after the cameras moved on. Pain, recovery, fear, and the difficult silence of wondering how a simple day at work could leave such a deep mark. For someone known for radiance, the hardest battle happened away from the spotlight. Her story lands differently because it does not come from a daredevil stunt or a scene designed to look deadly. It comes from something ordinary: equipment, weather, timing, and a few seconds nobody could take back. Kristin Chenoweth survived, but the accident became a quiet warning hanging over every set. Sometimes the greatest danger is not written into the script. It is waiting above it. Boris Sagal. Boris Sagal was the kind of director Hollywood trusted with pressure. He had guided television dramas, major productions, and powerful stories where every frame needed control. By 1981, he was working on World War III, a Cold War miniseries filled with tension, military stakes, and the fear of global disaster. The irony was cruel. While filming a story about catastrophe, his own life would end in one quiet moment no script had prepared for. At Timberline Lodge in Oregon, a helicopter was being used during production. For a director, moving between locations, equipment, and crew was part of the job. Nothing about the moment looked like a stunt. There were no actors running from fire, no dramatic countdown, no camera pushing in for suspense. It was just another working day, the kind of routine moment that makes people lower their guard. After stepping away from the aircraft, Sagal turned in the wrong direction and walked into danger before anyone could stop him. The accident was sudden, shocking, and devastating for the people around him. He was taken to a hospital in Portland, but the injuries were too severe. A filmmaker known for commanding complicated scenes was gone because of one brief misstep beside a machine that never forgives carelessness. The tragedy of Boris Sagal is a cold reminder that film sets are not dangerous only when cameras are rolling. Sometimes the risk waits between shots. In the walk back to base camp, in the noise of machinery, in a second of confusion. He spent his career shaping stories for the screen, but his final day left behind a lesson no production should ever forget. Safety does not pause just because the scene is over.